Have you forgotten that there's no such thing as being yourself? Your identity is by and large the performance of your lifestyle. Think about it. The most influential, powerful people in living history are influential and status symbols because they are not reproducible at scale. I'm Sook Boy. You're awesome. Let's talk about it. On July 28th, the North Node will move from the sign of Pisces into the sign of Aquarius. What does that mean? The North Node is somewhat of a collective GPS, and it has an insatiable thirst. It's very unfamiliar, but very rewarding if we happen to step into that archetypal signature, let's say. I've already covered the Leo South Node, but basically in a nutshell, that's something about you being exhausted of said performance. Now, I've really been grappling with the dichotomy of Aquarius and Leo. Now, you can think about Aquarius like your friends, your social network, where the collective is moving, therefore it's our future. And if you break it down, it's kind of like the ideology behind individualism. If Aries is the individual, it makes a sextile up to Aquarius, which Aquarius is individualism. Now, what's Leo? That's the king, that's the icon, that's you taking the spotlight. That's you as an individual within your community, and you want to shine, you want to show off, you want to be recognized and validated by said collective. These two energetic signatures are bound. They work together. They can't be separated. They're literally the same thing. You can't have one without the other. Non-duality, man. Why are we inspired by icons in the first place? It's because they were brave about what they actually thought and what they actually did. They did the thing everyone wanted to do but wouldn't. They said the thing that everyone wanted to say but couldn't. Authenticity is rather unique and unconventional, and therefore it is rather hard to define. Most people don't really know who they are, or they're terrified of knowing who they are. So instead, they follow some kind of template or consensus to somehow help them define their individualism. For better or worse, no one gets away scot-free without being conditioned or having an impression made upon them by the cultural zeitgeist, their family unit, the institutions they were exposed to, etc., etc. And whether you like it or not, whenever that happens, whenever you've been conditioned by the cultural zeitgeist, let's say, by what the latest trend is, you sacrifice who you really are for someone else's template. These are somewhat external forces that leave an impression on you. They brainwash you, they condition you in some way, shape, or form. Now, in my personal opinion, I think we have a core self. We have preferences, or a soul, let's say. And that soul actually wants to externalize itself. It's deeply valued and internalized. But it's like peeling back the layer of an onion. You have got to get through all that conditioning before you actually understand how that thing wants to bloom. Let's try to merge these two components. So you have an internalized set of preferences, a soul, something that wants to manifest in some way, shape, or form. And then we also have an environment that is leaving an impression on us. When you merge those two together, we get something called the contextual self, you in the moment. But how does that actually play out? Let's break it down. Darwinism, your survival instincts. You need to survive. On top of that, you can put a layer of Freud. Now, I didn't like Freud. I'm not saying that you should go out there and be like Freud. He was just saying that you've got urges, sexual impulses. And this kind of feeds into Darwinism because ultimately you need to reproduce. That is an instinct. In other words, if humanity doesn't reproduce, humanity doesn't survive. It's as simple as that. We have biological needs and urges, and so we conceal them with this other layer called Adler, and we wear an Adlerian mask, a social persona, so to speak. This social performative mask conceals all that ugly warts and all survival instincts and sexual impulses and urges, so to speak. And yes, we all wear an Adlerian mask, but if we can summon ego strength, it means we're a lot less impressionable. And on top of that, we can place a layer of Jung. That's all about digging into the shadow, right? Integrating the shadow self, the unconscious, all the survival instincts, all the conditioning, all these sexual impulses, all of our urges, and actually owning it for what we really are. And if you ask me, that's where true authenticity actually exists. You can think about this archetypal signature, what Jung was talking about, like Scorpio, the dark night of the soul, the transformation, going deep, excavating all this stuff that we don't really want to honor or show anyone else. It's too private, it's taboo, it's too extreme, it's too intense. But at the end of the day, though, it's actually authentic. And this is why Scorpio forms natural tense aspects to Leo and Aquarius. Because if you show other people that, you have to rip off your Adlerian mask and show them for what you really are. Now, just so you know, I'll be doing a complete series of the nodes moving through Leo and Aquarius. Just saying. But from my humble perspective, this North Node in Aquarius will feel very unfamiliar, but will actually allow you to be brave enough to be the individual you actually are. Now, don't forget that Leo and Aquarius form squares to Taurus. Now, Taurus can be kind of vain. It lacks material possessions, material wealth, the quality of the fabric. It likes to look good, basically. It's Venusian ruled. Over this time, if we can do the work, let's say, we're going to have to find some depth. Not be vain, for example. Sacrifice the idea of material possessions for the greater good of humanity. And with the ruler of Aquarius, Saturn in Aries, that's actually going to ask you to do something new, to start something new. And that might be looking deeply at yourself and who you really are. And being okay with being the black sheep. Being okay with saying the thing that no one else wants to say, that everyone's thinking. And the more individuals that do that, the more we can actually try to slay the king or slay the corporate technological feudalism that we're facing, to challenge the establishment, to deconstruct the traditional hierarchy, let's say. Moving away from the idea of sacrificing our own spiritual autonomy and sovereignty for following some kind of icon. If you're following anything, you're losing yourself. And this is what this North Node in Aquarius is all about. And again, it means being okay with being the black sheep, with not everyone agreeing with you. This nodal shift symbolizes a transition from shallow aesthetic to intellectual depth. And maybe this is what the Barbo basket is triggering. Ground up swell of people actually being authentic again.